Yo, guys, this is Cory the Sandman Sandhagen here. I'm breaking down the UFC top 10, in my opinion, of what the Bantamweight division should look like. Okay, I'll try to be like real reasonable when I'm doing this, but I mean, Sterling's got to be number one. He's defended his title a few times. He beat me, so I can't really put myself above Sterling. Yeah, his style, it's like super efficient wrestling. Like everyone kind of holds people down in their own special way, and Aljamain has figured out how to take the back really, really good, which just banks him rounds in really close fights, which is how a lot of his fights are. But he's really good at, I guess, keeping track of the score in his head and banking rounds. So that's a super special skill. Number two will probably be Merab, because Merab's been crushing it lately. He looked super good against Yan. He's got a gas tank like no one else in the division. He's relentless. He doesn't have like the safest style in the entire world, but he definitely, like, as long as he's not getting caught, I think that his style is going to work good. The question is going to be about like when he does get caught. No, you could try to catch him, but you could also make it like super, like you could do proactive things to make him not want to like enter into your space as much. So like you don't have to throw things in order to like land them, but you should throw things into like an area where he is like afraid to go into if he does get hit by those things. So that like keeps people off of people pretty decently. And then three, I would put myself there because I think I'm better than everyone else. I'm able to like process things or like make people process things at a speed that is just like exhausting. Like when you're switching your feet all the time, and when you're like constantly fainting, and when you're changing levels, which is something that I've added in, and you're like throwing with all the limbs of your body, it becomes super exhausting to try to track down what it is that I'm doing. And that's, I think, like kind of one of the main keys in like how everyone else isn't able to really keep up. It's just too much input for people to try to keep up with, and then eventually like they either have to be reading or they have to be trying to fight me back. And when they try to fight me back, that's when I start fighting them. But like, for example, like a guy like Cheeto, I was able to just like run a blueprint on Cheeto, and he really wasn't fighting me back at all, which didn't give me much of an opportunity to like sit down and like hit him with some good stuff. But that's pretty much just because he wasn't fighting me back, because he was just too busy trying to like read all the input that I was throwing at him. So there's like a lot of layers to it is that I'm doing, and but a lot of it is just the amount of input and the amount of like trying to react to too many stimuluses. Like Sean, no, I don't think is better than me. Henry's not better than me, although Henry's very, very good. He'll be number four. But I honestly thought he was going to beat Aljamain, but he didn't look that good. And the reason I think that I would kind of chalk that up to, as I was watching the fight, I always realize things as I'm watching the fight. But if you're a retired guy, you're likely still in the gym a decent amount. Like it never really leaves you. But here's what you're not doing, is you're not sparring hard as hell with the guys at the gym. Like if you're retired, you're not doing that. And I realized that like pretty quick in the Sterling fight, that Henry was just he was still like his same self as far as like the wrestling and the grappling and stuff goes, even though he did get out grappled. But that's just because Aljamain's a better grappler, not because Henry looked rough. But Henry's striking didn't look like he was used to someone actually throwing serious punches at him. And I would just chalk that up to probably the only hard sparring that he did in that layoff was like the last 8 or 9 weeks of his training camp. So that's like not a ton of time to get used to like sparring really hard. So, and then five, I would probably put, honestly, I think it's probably either going to be Umar or Song. I think I'd probably put Song up there. I think Song is super good. I expected him to be good, but he's way better than I thought he was going to be. Like, that guy is a hell of an athlete. He's extremely fast. He's really hard to take down. He has like things that he needs to work on, but honestly, there are a lot of just experience things. They're not as much like technical things. He just really needs like more experience, and I think that he's going to be one of the best guys in the world. And then after that, probably Umar, I would say. Umar and Song are almost tied, but yeah, Umar's up there too. Khabib's style is Sambo. He grew up doing Sambo, and you could tell that Umar grew up doing like Thai boxing or some type of like Taekwondo or karate. So they're like the striking styles are so like vastly different. The way that Khabib stands, like in a more squared stance, with like his shoulders facing you, and the way that Umar stands in a very bladed stance with like almost like a Philly shell in boxing. But he's like made it for Taekwondo and kickboxing and karate and stuff too, is like vastly different. Also, Umar's style of grappling isn't as good as Khabib's. Like it's definitely good, but it's not like as concerning as if I was fighting a guy like Khabib. Just in like Khabib's just better at grappling. So yeah, that's how I think that they're different. 7, we can go with O'Malley. Yeah, we'll go with O'Malley there. I think O'Malley, like I said, I think he's good. I mean, everyone thinks that he's good, but the way he talks, man, like you kind of see him in fights. Like there's, okay, yeah, I think that that's kind of fair to say. O'Malley will try to. Like O'Malley doesn't want a dogfight, and that's like his biggest weakness, is that he wants the fight to be what O'Malley wants the fight to be, like this like long range sniper match between two guys, and it's about like who could throw the better punch. And I think that if you bring the fight into any other realm, O'Malley isn't going to be comfortable in those areas. So I think that that's like O'Malley does great when he is being that character or being that guy, but once you start putting him in other situations, I think that he's not going to do as well. Definitely Yan. Yan could even be higher, but I don't know. I haven't seen him in a really long time. So I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily. I kind of almost went through the same thing a little bit. You know, like I lost to. Well, actually, no. My situation was. It's a little bit comparable, but I mean, Yan's fighting the best guys in the world. It's not like he's fighting. It's not like he's losing to guys that are like, you know, like not established good fighters. Like he's losing to like Merab and then Aljamain, and then well, I guess he did lose to O'Malley, but that was like a razor close fight. Like a lot of people would score that for Yan in a traditional sense, but the judges scored it the way that they scored it that night. So you know, it's kind of tricky to say, but I mean, he is fighting like top tier competition, so you know, I don't think that I would call it like a fall of grace as much as I would call it just he needs to regroup and decide that he's going to get extremely a lot better so that you don't lose close fights like I've had to do in the past, or just like crumble and not get any better, which is, you know, not good. Last one, we'll go with Font. I think Font definitely deserves to be in the top 10. I think that his style is really pressury. It almost does the same thing that I try to do with people, except he does it in a lot closer of a range, where he just tries to overwhelm people with the amount of pressure and the amount of action that's happening, and he does it in a closer range, and I think he hits pretty hard, would be my guess. So I think that he's like wrestling pretty good. I've noticed that he's trying to start to add that into his game, so I think Font's going to be around for a while. I think he's going to do really well. Hey, I got some instructionals out right now that I've been releasing, and then I have a YouTube page that hasn't worked its way into the algorithm yet. So, you know, it's Cory Sandhagen MMA. If you guys just want to follow those, I'm kind of trying to build those up a little bit. So, yeah, that's it.